Hi guys, coming to you today from my bedroom. I know that's weird, but I have a doggy visitor today and my kennels are just outside my bedroom sliding door. So just keeping an eye on the puppins until they are okay. So I'm doing this from here and I apologize. It's not where I usually do things, but that's okay. Um, I also want to apologize if I happen to say something, I might get something backwards or mixed up a little bit. I am still recovering from a pretty bad concussion. So please forgive me. And if I do confuse you or I say something backwards or something, feel free to reach out to me and ask me to clarify. No problems at all. So let's get into it. I want to try to keep this under half an hour. So what I want to talk today is equine nutritional supplements in Canada and how to pick the best supplements for your equine partner. And I did make a PowerPoint, so if anybody wants a copy of that PowerPoint, please reach out to me. I'm happy to send it to you. Send me your email so I can email it to you rather than sending it through Facebook Messenger. It's just a little bit easier for me, especially with my concussion right now. It's easier for me to attach a file than to try to get it over there. I'm not the most technologically savvy person to begin with. So if any of you know that, you know that. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to me. I did consult with a few very, very intelligent people on this topic today from different areas of nutrition and regulatory bodies. So if you have a question I can't answer, I can get you the answer, okay? And I don't know everything. And again, some of these things are my takeaways from being in the supplement business for over 10 years. No longer, but just know that that is my background. But the first thing I want to talk today about who is consuming feed in Canada, and you're probably going to think, well, what does this have to do with supplements? But I'm going to come back around to that. So in Canada, I printed this off, and this comes from ANCA. I don't know if you can see that. ANCA stands for the Animal Nutrition Association of Canada. And basically, this statistic shows that swine consume 32.8% of the feed in Canada. These numbers were from 2022. I hope you can see that. Beef cattle consume about 27.6%. Dairy cattle consume about 18%. And poultry, turkey, and eggs are 17.7% consumption of feed in Canada. And again, these numbers are 2022. They haven't updated their website yet. Then there's this little section called Other. And Other is only 3.4% of the market. It's also very important for you to understand, and we'll come back to this later, that swine only have a lifespan of 6 to 7 months before they're then sent to market. Organic pork has a little bit longer. Beef cattle, 9 to 11 months. And again, organic animals, a little bit longer. Dairy cattle only live on average 5 years. The first 2 years of their life, they're not milking. They're actually out to pasture and growing. And then by the time they turn 3, they are started, and then they only live till they're 5. And then poultry, most chickens in intensive farming are 6 weeks, broilers rather, and then others can live, broiler chickens can live up to 12 weeks if they're free range or organic. So I think that's an important thing to know, and we're going to come back to that later. Now, you're probably wondering what's in that 3%. I do also, for your information, I list the website for ANCA in my PowerPoint. And if you want a copy of my PowerPoint, I'm happy to email it to you. I don't want to send it over Messenger because of my brain, but I will email it to you. So again, send me your email and I'll send this to you with all the links of every thing I'm going to be talking about today. So within that Other, it's important to know that that includes bison, horses and ponies, sheep, fin fish. That doesn't include oysters, mussels, and that sort of thing. It's only like trout and salmon and things like that that are farmed. Ducks, geese, rabbit, elk, deer, venison. And I also want you to know that if you were doing the math, if you were looking at a pie chart, swine and beef cattle consume over half of the feed that was consumed last year. The other important thing to note is that you have to think about the size of a body, a horse's or an animal's body in relation to how much feed they eat. Okay, so one chicken is not going to eat as much per volume as a beef cow. Okay, so in the Atlantic provinces alone in 2022, only 6,605 tons of equine feed was consumed. So why does that matter? Well, it matters a lot to me as an equine nutrition advisor and as an RHN, a human holistic equine nutritionist. Sorry. So in Canada, there's two main categories of supplements for horses. One are those that are made in a pharmaceutical environment or a nutraceutical environment, and the other, those that are manufactured in a feed mill. So equine pharmaceutical supplements, these supplements are used to address specific issues with your horse. So that can be a joint supplement, a calming supplement, a breathing supplement, a gut health supplement. And it can also include things like vitamins and minerals and some amino acids and that sort of thing. And traditionally they were supplied by a vet, but also nowadays many can be sold in a retail environment. When choosing an equine supplement, you can consider factors such as the horse's life stage, its health status, the quality and efficacy of the product you're going to administer. And it's really important to use pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals that fall under Health Canada's NN and NPN system, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, because when you do, it's much easier for you or your vet to assess any contraindications or issues with any other medications that your horse has been given. So that's a really important thing to note. So I want to talk about the standards of pharmaceutical nutraceutical products in Canada. So pharmaceuticals in Canada must adhere to certain standards, which are no different than actually the human standards for pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals in Canada. So number one, the ingredients have to be very pure. The ingredients for a horse supplement have to be just as pure as those for a human supplement grade, excuse me. I'm just getting over a cough. That means that testing is done on these ingredients to ensure that there's no impurities, toxicity, or heavy metals throughout the entire process of manufacturing these products. So testing is done when the product arrives from potential other countries or Canada. Testing happens then. Testing happens throughout manufacturing, and testing happens on the finished product all the way through. These products that are made in nutraceutical and pharmaceutical environments almost always fall under Health Canada's NN and NPN certification system. So what is that? What does that mean? What is that NN and NPN certification? Pretty much the same standards for animals as it is for humans. Products with an NN or NPN license have been assessed by Health Canada and found to be safe, effective, and of high quality under their recommended condition of use. You can identify licensed natural health products by looking for the 8-digit NPN number for human products and the NN number for equine or pet products on the front or side of the label. Some of these products include, but are not limited to, vitamins and minerals, herbal and plant-based remedies, traditional medicines like Chinese or Indian Ayurvedic medicines, omega-3s and essential fatty acids fall under this, probiotics, homeopathic medicines, and then some consumer products for humans like certain toothpaste, antiperspirants, shampoos, mouthwashes, face creams, makeup, things like that. I have listed the link for the NN system. It's many pages long, but it's there for you if you're interested in reading more about that. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about the things that I've learned through some people who are in the industry, my 10 years of working in that industry, that might help you choose better quality supplements. So one is that Health Canada regulates how materials are handled in a facility, even down to how the floors are cleaned and what products are used to clean the floors. and the bathrooms and everywhere in the building. It also regulates how the machines are cleared and cleaned and with what products. Where ingredients are stored in relation to each other in a facility so that there's no cross-contamination. How and when materials, ingredients are moved within that facility, that all has to be documented and reported to Health Canada. So if you want to move product A, red reishi mushroom, from this room to another room, you have to document that and report it to Health Canada. And that's so that if there were to be any kind of contamination, they have the ability to look back and see, okay, what went wrong? And that is really, really important, in my opinion. Being able to find out what went wrong quickly so that we can help prevent other animals or other people being sickened, that's incredibly important. And that's another reason why this NN system is so crucial for the health of you and your animals. It also governs, if you can believe it or not, what type of hairnets, what type of masks, what type of lab coats, what type of boots for any one product. So you might have red reishi mushroom. The criteria for getting dressed to deal with that might be different than dealing with alcohol or some other ingredient. If you're making a tincture, those two things have to be documented independently of each other. So also how those things are disposed of and cleaned. So how are the lab coats laundered, and with who, and what chemicals are used? What do you do with those hair nets and masks and gloves when you're done with them? All of that disposal has to be documented and is regulated. Also, pharma is created and treated to the level of narcotics. And like I said, there's no difference in the regulations to a human product that's created in a pharmaceutical, nutraceutical environment than a horse product. And so it's really important to understand that those ingredients are handled to the level of a human narcotic. And the NPN number you can kind of think of as the same as a DIN number, a DIN number, when you get a prescription filled. Please know, it's the same regulations, okay? It's exactly the same regulations. So any products that I mentioned, alcohol, any products that do use alcohol are also regulated by a completely different arm of Health Canada, and those have their own set of guidelines, which are also very strict. So strict documentation, and you can think real quick here. You probably are sitting there going, cha-ching, cha-ching. So this costs companies a lot of money, okay? Strict documentation is required for application of NN numbers, and there is a fee involved in submitting an application. Scientific studies must be provided for each ingredient and how those ingredients respond or react to each other so that there's no contraindications between ingredients. Naming your product is also not your choice. You can submit the names of the products you want to name something. You can call a supplement Healthy Gut Healing Wonder Drug, Wonder Supplement, and Health Canada will go, oh, no, you can't call it that way. There's certain words you can't use, like heal and treat, and you can't even infer those words. It's under very, very strict scrutiny what you can even name your product. So you submit the names you'd like to name something, and they come back and tell you, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, or here's what we think you should call it. And most times that's what people go with. So you can imagine that costs a ton of money. And also, if you need to alter your product or you have to resubmit your application, you have to pay that all over again. Many good companies do their own scientific trials of products, especially when they have contraindications or there's more than one ingredient, I should say, not contraindications. If there's more than one ingredient, they have to submit the documentation and scientific proof for each ingredient. Now, just know that if you're kind of trying to fly underneath the radar with Health Canada, you can still get NN numbers for your products if they are single ingredient products. Something like magnesium oxide we'll use as a as an example. So I can show historic scientific documentation showing the benefits and the uses for feeding magnesium oxide to a horse. And you can get your NN number easy peasy. So just keep that in mind. In the world of supplements, honestly, you get what you pay for. Yes, pharmaceutical, nutraceutical products are going to be more expensive, but I've always found in my personal life and professional life that you will get a response much quicker with a pharmaceutical company who has an NN number, their products. You know, and I'm not talking about the company that I necessarily used to work for. There's many companies on the market now who are doing things correctly and are producing pharmaceutical brands that have an NN number. And if you don't know if your product is a pharmaceutical or a feed grade product, reach out to them and ask them. They have to let you know that. So the other thing that leads to the cost is inspections. So Health Canada does sporadic inspections, and they can inspect the same ingredient many times over. They don't call you and say, oh, can we schedule an inspection on Thursday at 2 o'clock? No, they just walk in and you have to give them your kingdom. You have to show them everything, all the documentation of what was moved from where, when, blah, 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 blah. If the company exports to FDA, to the US, they have to follow also FDA guidelines. Also, CFIA is involved in their own way at some points and in some situations, but mostly CFIA, Canada Food Inspection Agency, is dealing with feed mills and food, human food. They're not so much dealing with supplements per se. And keep in mind that the regulations for CFIA and FDA are very different than those of Health Canada. So let's talk about supplements that are manufactured in a feed mill. So many companies in Canada have been allowed to skirt many Health Canada regulations by producing their products in a feed mill or in a feed environment. So the difference between feeds themselves, which usually do not include ingredients other than those that fill in the gaps of forage. So a lot of feeds, and I'm not bashing on feeds, I feed my horse feed, a lot of people do, and I recommend you feed your horse a feed. But those companies usually only add in the micro and macronutrients that are potentially missing in your forage depending on, you know, what your horse needs. So what is that horse doing for a living? Is it retired? What is it doing? And just so you know, there's really only three types of feed for horses. There's ration balancers, which are meant to fill out your forage. There are performance feeds, and those are for horses that are working at a higher level. And then there are complete feeds that are meant for horses that are like a retired horse. Maybe they don't have any grind service. So those complete feeds include the forage and their daily allotment of nutrients. There are good practices in place for feed mills to clean their lines after they've made any other medication added feed. So if they're making beef fattener or swine feed or whatever it is, they have to clean to inspection level through those pipes once they manufacture that. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with feeds. Honestly, I'm not. Please understand that I am speaking about supplements that are made in a feed mill specifically, okay? And I have put the link for Inspection Canada in regards to clearing the pipes so that if anyone wants to read the processes, they are there. So companies creating supplements in a feed mill have much more loose regulations than those that are made in a nutraceutical or a pharmaceutical environment. And just so you know, even human food processing waste can be used in feedlot feeds. So in the US, on the NRC, which is what I use for developing diets for horses or plans for horses, there is a drop-down menu of all of the things that can be added in for feed. And one of them is, just amazes me, cookie byproduct. And you would think, oh, that can't possibly happen here in Canada, but it does. You can use byproduct from human food manufacturing in animal feed. So regulations for creating feed supplements and my interpretation of the rules. So I have put a link to the rules here if you want to go do your own investigation. But basically, feed supplements that are made in a feed environment, as long as the supplement gives instructions that fulfill the minimum and maximum requirement of Table 4, Section 1, which is equine nutrients that are required for a horse, they are actually exempt from the Health Canada NN processes. So this is how they kind of weave, those companies kind of weave and dive around and get around these processes. I've listed it there. I've put it, the general synopsis, not my interpretation, but the general synopsis from the Inspection Canada website. I've put it in this slide if you want to read it. I kind of just cut and paste it, but I highly recommend you read the whole thing if you're, can't fall asleep at night or something. So let's talk about how does this impact our horses, basically. So as I mentioned before, horses live much longer than feedlot animals, and feed ingredients can build up. Unwanted feed ingredients can build up in a horse's body. So once again, remember, these feedlot animals, they're not living very long. And just so you also realize, the only animal that's on this entire sheet that is not traditionally considered a human-consumed animal is a horse, okay? So things that can build up in their systems are things like mycotoxins. So those are toxins from mold spores, and those can actually harm the mitochondria or the little motors in your cells that help your cells function to their optimal ability. Ionophore toxicity, so again, processing beef feed or any other kind of feedlot animal feed, which might have added antibiotics and added growth stimulants such as ionophores, all of that stuff. Those can cause death and all kinds of colic presenting heart rate issues. I'm not going to get into the symptoms of ionophore toxicity, but that's all there. And I've posted the symptoms on my page, so you can go back and look at that. So any additives that are added to feed, molasses, all of that kind of stuff. Byproduct contamination, so those contaminants from human food manufacturing, added colors, sugars, that sort of thing. And something that's really important to me that I talk about with a lot of my my clients is actually the forms of nutrients and minerals that are added in to horse feed supplements and things like that that are made in a feed mill. Sometimes, if company Jaguar, we'll call it the name of the company, if they're buying calcium carbonate to put in as a calcium, or as it's known in layman's terms, limestone, if they're adding this in for feedlot animals, it doesn't really matter because these animals aren't living very long. But unabsorbable forms of nutrients added into your horse feed, and if you think that the feed company is going to buy a separate type of more absorbable calcium, like calcium citrate, for your horse, you're wrong. They're not. They don't have the ability, and that's not their fault. That's just the way the system is, okay? So those things can build up and can cause your horse issues over time. And, I've been criticized and condemned for bringing forward some of the issues that are happening right now in the supplement industry in Canada. A lot of people have said, what's my motivation? She's getting more clients out of this. Trust me, I'm not getting more clients. And I actually don't make very much money off of what I do. A consult, which I follow you for about a year, 3 months afterwards, I don't charge that much money. It's no different than getting your horse's feet trimmed. And you get your horse's feet trimmed every 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, where I'm a one-time deal. So I'm not making a lot of money off of my Tip Top Equestrian Nutrition. For those of you who think that's my motivation, and if you really know me, you know money is not a motivating factor in my life. The other thing about that is my motivation, I'll be very clear with you. My motivation is that companies do better. And if my legacy can be that I can change somehow the way supplements are created, manufactured, and sold in Canada, whether they be a feed supplement company or a pharmaceutical company, I would like to see even playing ground. I would like to see feed supplements be held to the same standards as pharmaceutical supplements. That's what I would like my legacy in this world to be. I would like to pave a way where no horse will ever, ever be poisoned or die from a supplement in Canada. That is the hill I will die on. That is my motivation. And for those that know me, they know that of me. And for the rest of people who want to criticize me or come at me, I don't care. I really don't care what you think. The things you are saying and thinking are not backed in science. They are not factual. And, you know, everybody is going to make their own choices. And I get it. Not everybody can afford pharmaceutical products. And to be honest with you, a lot of people don't need half of the supplements they have their horses on. When I go into a feed room, a lot of times I'll see so many products. And honestly, if you just feed your horse to tag and you feed a good quality probiotic, it's so simple. It's simple. If the foundation, the meat and potatoes, your everyday diet is there, the same as us, you know, we need to eat certain nutrients from our food. The nutrients that come from our food are more readily absorbable to our body. Horses build the best biotin for hooves that horses can build actually come from the bacteria in their gut, believe it or not. And that is a much better way to get your nutrients from your food. So, you know, over supplementing can cause a lot of problems because, as most of you know, every vitamin has a helper mineral and every mineral has a helper vitamin. But a lot of times, like for example, iron and copper, they use the same vitamins, so they compete for absorption. So when you are over supplementing, you can be inadvertently pulling bricks out of the wall. And that wall over time can collapse. And that's when you start having serious health issues with your horse. So, you know, if it's me you want to hire, great. If not, it's okay. I have lots of time on my hands to ride my horse and walk my dogs and enjoy my life. I don't need to make a ton of money on this. So that's, again, not my motivation. So, but if it's not me and you want to hire an equine nutrition advisor or an equine nutrition professional PhD, I can point you in the direction no matter where you live in North America. I have contacts in Australia. I have contacts in Africa, everywhere. So I can put you in touch with someone who can help you make good choices for your horse. And honestly, Health Canada is doing that for us by making sure people follow the regulations of the NN system. We don't have time. We don't have a lot of time on our hands. We're busy people. We work all day to make sure we can afford to take care of our horses. So I guess my takeaway, and again, please don't think I'm lecturing. I'm just very passionate about this. I have a lot of inside information from a lot of different areas, and I can't stand on this soapbox enough to tell you, choose products that have NN numbers and have clear records with Health Canada that their products have good efficacy, that they work, that they are pure, void of heavy metals, toxins, that they come in from countries that have good, clean environments, that companies are not using the bottom of the barrel ingredients for your horses. Your horses deserve better. And I'll leave you with this saying, which I have said before, because we are at 29 minutes, 31 seconds. I want to keep this under 30 minutes. You can pay now or you can pay later. But if you pay later, the cost is always greater. Meaning, if you feed good supplements now, You will avoid a lot of issues going forward with vet bills. And oh, the last thing, 2154, please, if you are unsure what you should be doing for your horse, consult your vet. They can take a blood panel. They can even look at immune cells and see how well that horse's immune system is functioning. There's so many things a vet can show you by looking at your blood panel. So please consult with your vet. First line of defense, always. Please be well. Enjoy your horses. Enjoy your dogs, your cats, your pets, and take care. Love to you all. Bye for now.